Hello and welcome to Hitting the High Note. I am your host, Kevin Cusack, and today I have a wonderful guest joining me this morning. He is one of the most iconic voices in the world of entertainment, having worked in radio, film, and TV. He has voiced numerous film trailers and commercials, plus has voiced characters such as Optimus Prime and Megatron in Transformers. And he is the only voice actor in the Transformers franchise to regularly play both Optimus Prime and Megatron. I am pleased to welcome to Hitting the High Note, David Kaye. How are you doing today, David?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, and it is a pleasure to have you on Hitting the High Note today.
That's good to be here, man. Good to be here. I'm actually awake. Thought I might have slept in, but after the long holiday weekend, get used to sleeping in.
Yeah. And how was your holiday weekend, by the way?
It was low key, really low key. Because I was just in Denver at Fan Expo, and there's been a lot of travel this year, some personal, but a lot of bookings for different cons. And I have to turn around, I guess, is it next week? God, I think it's next week. We got to go to Toronto for TF Con for another Transformers convention. So yes, the last 2 days, the goal was to do absolutely nothing, and I think that was accomplished. As far as I know. Yeah. I didn't even see any fireworks. My daughter was visiting, we watched movies. I didn't even we heard them. But I was kind of like the first year I went,
Yeah, same here.
I was just like, okay. But yeah, that was Monday, Tuesday, because the weekend I was in Denver.
Right on. And yeah, same here with me. I didn't really get to see any fireworks last night because I had to work and I ran camera for 4 newscasts. So
yeah, you don't see when you're doing that. That's what I do. I started out doing that. God, for local cable, I used to be behind the camera. I loved it. Until I got in trouble. I don't know how old I was when I was young. This was called all volunteer work at that time, though. And there was some guy was doing some show, and I started giggling with the other cameraman, and we were fired from that. Yeah.
And yeah, not only that you worked behind the camera, for TV station and all that, you also did radio as a disc jockey.
Yeah, that's how everything started. It was I guess it was my hometown in Canada, a place called Peterborough in Ontario, about an hour and 20 minutes northeast of Toronto. And I was in high school, and Letterman was hot at that time. And I guess I was, how old was I? 17. I got my first gig on the air doing overnights on the weekends. And it was, it was so, because I grew up on listening to radio as a kid, but the stations I used to listen to were from across the border. I always had this fascination with these big stations from Boston. You could hear at that time, if you listen, they called skip or something, or you can at nighttime you can hear the signals if they're powerful enough. WBZ in Boston, WGN Chicago. There's a few big stations that I could listen to. A lot of them were from upstate New York, which is closer. I remember WPXY, Ogdensburg, somewhere up there, and we were exposed to Rochester television. TV station with Irv Weinstein, Eyewitness News, WKBW TV. It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Dun, 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 dun. Topping tonight's Eyewitness News is Irv Weinstein, a fire in downtown Batavia, fire in downtown Tonawanda, and a fire in Cheektowaga. That was always the, and then the Buffalo stuff. So I was always fascinated with when growing up in Canada, how the Americans, it was just sounded bigger, it sounded more important. And I used to listen to our little rinky-dink station sometime, and they sounded, at that time, I don't think they used level devils, they called it compression or whatever. Just, I don't know, for whatever reason, I had this fascination, and I became a fan of, some of the radio personalities, just listen to air checks and that. And I got a job very young at 17, didn't know what I was doing. I was working in a pro shop at the YMCA selling squash rackets and racquetball rackets and squash ball, stuff. And the morning man from our local station, John Maryseen, used to come in all the time to the Y. He was a man about town, but everyone knew John, real nice guy. And I used to, I was really interested in it. And I asked if, I don't know how the conversation went, but I was invited to the station to downtown to look around, and I met the program director, Rick Johnson, and I don't even know how it sort of happened. They put me in a booth and they had me read some copy or something. I don't know what it was. And next thing I knew, I was sort of offered the job to do all nights on weekends and train with the current all night guy. He was moving to evenings. And so I really had no experience, but it was that one person gave me a shot, and I thank John for that. I made a point of thanking him. I'd seen him a little while ago, back when I was visiting my folks up there, and as to how important that was, because at that time, that's why I started to listen to David Letterman, and I don't know, I was awful. I was horrible. But again, one person said yes, and that's really all you need. And, fast forward to 89, when I was in Vancouver, I'd had a few radio jobs at country radio near Detroit. I did, a station near Ottawa in Canada, little rinky dink outfit. And in Vancouver, I got a chance to work with the Morning Zoo and start doing characters. And I always reference the one I remember was Cowboy Dick, and it's howdy boys and girls, Cowboy Dick, woo! I write a song and play around with that. And it became part of the zoo. And that's when things like TV shows, Stephen J. Cannell Studios was in town, and there was a lot of TV, movies and series being shot in the area. And then also there were cartoons that were being recorded, and I had no idea. Deke Animation, you may remember. We always used to call stood for Done in Canada. Their offices were just in Burbank, or in Burbank, the head office at one time. And it was G.I. Joe. And that's when I was doing mornings, I had all afternoon, sort of all day to kind of do nothing, or work on I don't know what I was doing, but I was bored, and I took a commercial modeling course, and I got my first agent from that, and he said, "Do you know how to do voices?" And I lied, and I always tell this story because I don't know what he's talking about. I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, there's an audition for G.I. Joe," and I went, "What, you mean like the dolls I have at home?" He said, "Yeah." And I had all the I had all the, comics, and I had all the stuff. And at that time I was collecting comics like Marvel and DC, all of them. I had all that stuff. I said, "Sure." Like, I didn't know they were doing cartoons in Vancouver at that time. And it became this hub industry of what was going on down here. I guess I could do it cheaper up there. I'm not really sure. I never asked a lot of questions, so I was just thrilled to be going in to read. And I booked it somehow for the part of General Hawk. And it was, "Yo, Joe, quick, follow me toward the danger. Come on, boys, let's get," it was just all that nonsense. And somehow they hired me, and I was in that series with Chris Latta and some of the Canadian cast. And that was the beginning of the end of my radio career, because I thought, oh, well, I don't really want to do that anymore, because that's just not, I want to do this. How do I? And that began the eventual, started taking improv and theater and all I could to how do I get good at this? How do I stay in it? And then anime would you come to Vancouver, the Ocean Group, Proto Man, and Rama one half, and then Inuyasha was cast. They cast me as Sesshōmaru, and I basically just did me, just really relaxed. Hey, Jockin, shut up, Jockin. And they hired me for that. And then still, I was just in Denver, and it was like, when was that? Do you remember that? Yeah, was it 99? I don't know. It was before. It's in the 90s, right? Must have been. Yeah. And so,
maybe?
and so I never really thought about it. And they paid us like $2.78 a line. I thought, well, whatever. It's cartoons. Prelay always paid better when it wasn't drawn, but it was fun. Just go in, you'd hang out, and have a lot of laughs, and do the role. And it was animation. And then fast forward, here I am doing these conventions, just Fan Expo and all these different things, anime conventions, and those characters are, there he is right there. There he is. I got my hand over his eye with the sword. And it's as popular as ever. They have pops and it's just mind blowing. So there you go. You never really know where these things are gonna go. All I can say, man, is it's just been so much fun. Like it's just every day is a treat, and it all came from radio. So that's the story in a nutshell about how it all sort of began.
Very fascinating.
It is to me too. I don't know how. It's like, I still think someone's going to find out I really, really don't know what I'm doing, and they're going to call me. You know what, Kay? Yeah, you've had a good run, but so yeah, man, it was cool, and still is cool. There's so many things. I got some nice projects working on I can't tell you anything about, which really sucks, because they're all very, very recent and fun. What's the last thing? I gotta talk to my publicist about that. What can I say? What can I say? Gee whiz.
Yeah. And one of the voices that you did was Clank from Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, of course. It was. Yes. And that was a big deal this weekend, too, in Denver and in Dallas. And I still have, I'm surrounded by toys. This one is, the arm is off this. And there it is. And you can see it in the camera. And it's Clank because there says no arms because they keep falling off and breaking. But yeah, who knew? Again, I got a paragraph. I'm still living in Canada, still commuting, and I got a paragraph in my studio there, and it gave a description. It's a robot, but we don't want him to sound like a. We want him to sound like he has a personality, but we don't want him to sound too robotic. And I just started talking like this. My head would go back and forth. I still think that's why I have neck problems, because him and Ford Kruller, I have to do. But Clank was just this wonderful little, person. And again, how many years now? It's 20 some odd years now since I started doing that. But yeah, I think honestly, I have a neck issue because my head just goes back and forth if I'm doing the character properly. And recently from Psychonauts, and Ford Kruller's kind of down in here like that. And I crunch my neck and I go, oh. No wonder it's like there's weird stuff going on here. The hazards of VO. And that's, that was over 20 years ago. And still, and people asked me this weekend, can you tell us? Like, well, of course, I can't tell you anything. But even if I knew, I couldn't tell you. But I always say, look, it's such a popular franchise. I'm sure there's a back room somewhere where they're, plotting to take over the world with the next one. But it's been what a fun ride that's been, too, just to come up with these characters.
Now, you've voiced so many characters, and what has been the most challenging voice that you have voiced?
There's a lot. I love them all. There was one in Ben 10 Omniverse, Hidden Blast. Even when I do it now, I start... Because that's, if it made the mistake of coming up with that in the audition, I think that was maybe thrown at me once. So that I was actually thinking about doing Ben 10 is you have to be able to be versatile enough to do all these characters. They're going to throw them at you. But Cannonball was in here. Hey, Jock Squatch, he was like based after my uncle there. Hello, hey, from Canada there, right? And Coy the Huntsman's very calm. He's a bit South African and, that sort of thing. But Heat Blast came around and I thought, well, God, Heat Blast. I think Steve Bloom or somebody did him before in another series. And I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just started talking. And they did, yeah, that's it. And I went, oh, no, because then you got to do that now. And I always drink a lot of water in the studio. And that was always the one. I was like, I try not to scream too much anymore. Because 1 second you're doing animation, 1 second you're doing trailers, and it's this sort of thing, storyteller. And you have to keep that, be careful with that. So I try not to do anything that involves a lot of screaming and yelling. But yeah, I would say out of all of them, I think Heat Blast from Omniverse was like one I went, why did I do that? The other one, which I didn't have trouble with, but D. Bradley Baker, teaches us all that don't forget you can use different parts of your face, and for TF Prime and Hard Shell, I looked at the picture and went, well, he's an insecticon. So I grabbed my chin like this and pulled up here. I gave him mandibles, hard shell. I tried to keep away from Megatron, but I realized that in the session I have to do this, and so after you're finished, your jaw hurts. So whatever you do in the audition and then you get booked, you better be able to do the same thing in the session. But yeah, good question. I never really thought about that. I love them all, but Heat Blast was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. That would be a really tough voice to do.
Yeah, because it's all just pushing air and straining your cords, and it's not really what you really want to do.
No, not at all.
No.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I go through about a gallon a day. Stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of some of the trailers that you voiced the Field of Dreams game on Fox.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that one. That's the real storyteller. I mean, trailer. You're selling a movie, but you don't want to sell it. It's very, very narration. And that was one of those things where you really have to. It has to be truthful. Anything you do has to sound, it has to be a real. If you're putting on a voice or you're a part of yourself or you're doing some sort of character, the character has to be rooted in truth. It has to have a heartbeat and has to laugh and cry and be able to. You're creating a being that has a soul. I always tell people, and my goal as I get older and you're throwing different parts is to make them try and make them as real as humanly possible. And that was such a well-written piece. The writing is so key. It's so important to these things. And it was well written. Folks at Fox Sports and I've done some stuff at CBS Sports. They have the writing is amazing. And it was, so what happens is you get that and you go, oh, this is, first of all, you go, this is great. This would be fun to do. It's the classic, and the Cornfield based on the Kevin Costner movie. And so you listen to you watch the clips, or you watch the old trailer, or they sometimes send you the music that they're going to use. And that's really helpful. And you really sort of picture yourself sitting at the big house with the big wraparound, porch, and you literally you have to hear the cicadas or you hear the crickets at night. And to the point where you literally, envision what it's like when the sun goes down and the dew starts to form. I mean, you have to have like a real picture in your mind, your imagination is key. And you're this person, you're this older gentleman who's sitting on the porch in his chair thinking about, when he was a kid. So that's a real person. That's a real moment. That's so it's got emotion in it. It's got memory. So you have to really do it justice. So for whatever reason, it took a few times to get in there, but it has to be, I don't know. I love doing it because it was a real, what do you call it? It's a test for me to see how far and how good I can do this and how well I can. It's always a competition between me and myself of, how good can I make this, or how far can I go? Where can I take it? But yeah, man, that was so much fun. And I got to give credit where credit is due. If the writing is not there, that doesn't happen. You can't sort of, close your eyes and I'll memorize the lines sometimes so I can just sort of think about where I am and deliver that story, because it is a story. And that was fun. I don't listen to a lot of stuff I've done. I haven't seen very many. I mean, literally people, this is one of my most, famous characters, Megatron from Beast Wars, and God bless him. There he is. Yes. But I've never seen a complete series. I've seen snippets of shows. I've seen the most I've ever watched on a cartoon series I've done was the latest He-Man Masters of the Universe, where I play a Battle Cat, Adam's protector, and I enjoyed doing the Liam Neeson sort of Liam from Game of Thrones thing, a combination. I just enjoyed, and I sat down watching and went, well, this is actually pretty good. And I really like it. It's well done, and I've watched 5 of them. But I just don't like to watch me or hear me, because I think I'm going to be disappointed. But that baseball thing and a few trailers I've done in the past, I listened to it over and over and went, yeah, that's it. That's where I want to live, So yeah, it's I'm weird that way. So so people ask me if I've seen certain episodes, and more likely not. I'm uncomfortable with it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I get that. Because yeah, like sometimes like I would do episodes and I don't, listen to it the whole duration, because
I know.
it's like, oh no, am I gonna sound good? But yeah, I mean, people like it.
You do sound good. You're very calm. You're very good at you're very good at it. I just prefer not to watch something with me in it when I could be watching something else inspiring.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And like you started out in radio. I was a disc jockey at Blaze Radio at the Walter Cronkite School at Arizona State.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So one of my favorite people tonight. Yeah, the president is dead. He has this sort of Walter Cronkite. I read his book. If you ever read his book, but those old news guys, I love doing the old news guys. This is Walter Cronkite. Has this, the voice of. At those times, they were the voices. They were the, I used to do like that. Tom Brokaw say, "Nightly news. I'll see you tomorrow." Who was the other one? There's a couple of guys. This is Ted Koppel tonight on Nightline. They had this rhythm, and I still did it. There's a current series I'm doing, the Andy Samberg series, Digman. I play a newscaster, and it's basically loosely based on that sort of Cronkite character. And yes, Rep Digman, that sort of thing in here. And it's always kind of fun to play. Again, there goes the neck. Oh God. Gotta have an MRI because it's the cartoons. Yeah. You do what you gotta do.
Definitely. Yeah, so did that for a little bit and then graduated and then started hitting the high note.
Cool. It's good. Yeah. This is good. I love the title of the show, man.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, and you're the second voice actor I've had on the show.
Oh my God. Who was the first?
Daniel Ross.
Daniel? Oh my God. I haven't
Yep.
seen Daniel for I have to call him today, actually. It's been a long time. Him and I, God, he was a guy when I was in doing Transformers, was it animated or Beast Wars or something? I met him years and years ago in Cincinnati, and I knew his work, and I said, this kid's for real. And sure shit, man, he's doing all right. He's came out here and he's making people proud. He's a real. He's so I love it, and he's like into it, and he's so diligent and so great at social media, and I'm so not. It's like, oh, I can't do that. It's too much. I'm gonna go watch television, and certainly not anything that I'm in. Yeah, he's a great guy. Good choice.
Yeah. I interviewed him last year at Pensacon in Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, Pensacon. Were you there? Was that you mean this year or last year?
It was last year. I was going to go this year.
I had never been sick. I didn't even get COVID, and I hadn't been sick for before that. And I thought, okay, well, I'm feeling pretty good. And then we went to Pensacola, Florida, and I came home and something's wrong. I didn't even know how to be. I thought, oh, here it is. This is it. Test 4 days in a row, nothing. And I finally went. It was strep throat, and it took me about a month to just get completely clean of it. And thanks to good old Pensacon. But it was such a great time there. It was fun.
Yeah, Pensacon is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's packed. I'm not used to a lot of people. I'm not used to a lot of people, and it takes a lot for me to go to these conventions. People don't realize, and I love it. It's great to see the fans because it's a chance to give back. But it takes some mental effort on my part to be around a ton of people because I'm one of those introvert extroverts. Is it or the other way around? I can't.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah, because I'm totally fine and I'm totally happy if I was just by myself or with very close to my wife or so. But once there's a lot of people, it's like, okay, here we go. All right, I'm good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm one of those too. God, I'm a basket case. Lord. Yeah, come the revolution.
I get like that too.
I'm out. Where's we're doing a voiceover for the Navy SEAL Foundation here, Beverly Hills, about a month or so ago. I'm the voice, like, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Welcome to the stage. One of those things, and it's a Navy SEAL Foundation, and the Navy SEALs come out and people making speeches. I'm thinking, these guys and these women are completely different animals. This is another planet. This is, I'm just so amazed at what they do and the training. And good Lord. So you feel very, very inferior and very safe in a room like that. And the next day, the guy that they presented the keynote speaker, and they presented him with I can't remember there was a particular award, but he was a keynote speaker. And the next day, so funny, I get an audition for an unknown, project, and his picture and the description of the type of character, his picture and his name. I saw the name on his fatigues. He's standing there like that. He's just like looking, he's got that big military, the jar head thing. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's the guy. Literally, that's the guy. So I had an idea of what, of course I couldn't pull that off because I can't, but there was a description of the exact person I saw. Yeah. I'm not worthy.
And going back to film, you were also in the movie Happy Gilmore as a reporter. What was that experience like?
Word. There was a lot of laughing. I remember there's a lot of laughing because we were, that's when I was still living up north. It was filmed out in Maple Ridge outside Vancouver. There was a couple of golf courses. And I worked with Chris McDonald that day, and we were all laughing. Dennis Dugan, who directed all those movies, and Adam Sandler, because I had a bunch of my friends that were cast and on this, so we were hanging out and having a ball and laughing. And I think Sandler, I think they were kind of pissed off because what are they laughing about? We all have such a good time. And I did the the reporter thing, and then many years later, I guess maybe 2017, 2016, 17. We did an episode of what's the show called? I have a poster. Oh yeah, the Regular Show. And I was in the cast that day. Did a bunch of episodes, and who walks in? Chris McDonald.
Oh wow.
He was, yeah. I said, "Hey, Chris, you don't remember, but David Kaye, I was your reporter." And he goes, "Oh my God, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was a good time, huh?" I go, "Yeah, it was." It was so. Many years later, he did remember me, but I remember having like this amazing, smoked salmon and dinner, and I had 2 days on set, and it was one of the easiest gigs I've ever had, and it was just a lot of laughing. That's what I remember.
And you worked with John Oliver. What's that experience like?
Well, I do that here from the studio right now. The writer's strike, nobody's doing anything. But that was originally an HBO promo audition. My manager from New York sent, where I was to be the voice of the promos. This summer, a new show, just one of those promo voices on HBO. And I booked it. And I said, "Oh, cool." And I'm watching TV one night, and I think I was watching Game of Thrones, and the promo came on for this new show. And "Hey, Maria, come, here's the promo." And it wasn't my voice. And I go, "Ah." And the voice is great. I can't remember who it was, but great. I said, "Well, I guess I'm not doing that." And I texted my agent and just like said, "Oh, well, I guess it's not me. I don't know what happened." Blah blah blah. And he called me right after, and he said, "Hey, DK, yeah, listen, they just went a different direction, but they reached out to me and wanted to know if you want to be part of the show." And I go, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "Well, they want to know if you want to do some in-show stuff, and that means like, could you work on a weekend, like a Saturday or Sunday?" And I went, "Oh, I don't know, because kind of sacred time where I like to do nothing for 2 days." But I said, "Well, we'll give it a shot." And it turned into that. And it turned into the closest thing I'll ever get to an Emmy. And I was able to hold the Emmy Award the show won a couple times. And it's heavy. And I got to talk to John, went to the rap parties, and I, talked to the people behind the scenes. It was really, really cool. The investigative journalists are always my favorite to talk to because they're fascinating, because they go deep. I just, the show, the people, the writers, it's so much fun, and I can't wait to get back. I'm hoping that they settle the writer's strike. I'm expecting a long haul here. This AI thing, and this look, I'm a big fan of writers, as you probably gathered from what I've talked about so far. So I want them to get what they deserve, and I'm behind them all the way. It's just scary for some people in the industry that, with this long layoff, there's stuff that still can be done, but the longer it goes, the worse it gets. And you feel for people out there, because the industry is changing. AI, we have no idea what's coming, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, I mean, people can replicate my voice, anybody's voice. They can do the new Transformer toys. I mean, Peter Cullen's voice. I mean, Peter gets paid, for that. But these toys, these are robots now, and you're gonna put them down. And some people have seen them, that they transform on their own and dance, and they do everything they speak. You just sit back and watch this little being, do his thing. It's insane. So yeah, it's a long-winded answer, but yeah. So I basically, there's no more new stuff until the writers, they come to some sort of an agreement, I guess. But I miss doing it. But it's so much fun to do Last Week Tonight. And how is this still a thing? I wish they'd do more of those. I really like that one. Yes, yeah.
And yeah, you played Duckworth on DuckTales.
Yes, Duckworth. Of course, my dear friend. He comes back. He's a ghost. I didn't think, wonder how they were going to do that. And they did. I always get thrilled to do anything Disney. I get so nervous whenever I had to go to Disney. If ever I had a call back, I think, okay, this is the one. And I'd go on when you go walk on the lot, the Disney lot in Burbank. And you're looking up and you're going into the animations and you look up and there's the dwarves are all way up there looking at you. And they're all, staring you down. And I always used to get so freaked out. Yeah. Because you want it so bad to just, it is a Canadianism called gripping the stick too tight there, eh? It's got to be like jazz. When you grip the stick too tight, you're not loose. And that's what I always felt like going into Disney. It's like, God damn it, every freaking time I go in, you just wanted to be loose, but you're just like trying too hard. And it's just like, so, that was so nice. The Matt Youngberg and the crew, and reached out and hired me as Duckworth because I felt like now I can say I've been in a duck or a mouse thing, and that was pretty cool. A corporeal world, yes.
Which character do you get an adrenaline rush voicing? Optimus Prime or Megatron?
A Prime is basically me. It's me. That's the closest character of anything I do. That's basically me. Let's go save the world. Come on, who's with me? We can do that's me. It took 4 or 5 episodes to just drop into that and stop doing stuff and just be me. The big sort of my career kind of just pumped up more when the Beast Wars went on the air, because I had no idea this was this Transformers thing was like a thing. Every time I do the voice and I get asked all the time, yes, excellent. I even have the buttons. I was like, I didn't think that I would ever have a catchphrase. It's like being in a movie. When I have a catchphrase, the first time I felt those, that feeling was when very first BotCon I did. I think Peter Cullen was there. There's the G1, obviously, before the movies were, and Venus Terza and I were in Rochester, New York. And I think maybe Corlett was there. I can't remember. There was a few of us there. And I remember there's a massive, giant hall full of people, and we did a panel, and somebody way at the back said, "Can you say excellent?" And I leaned and went, "Excellent, yes." And the whole room went up, and I went, "Wow, well, that's kind of powerful." And see, so that's what Sammy Hagar feels like, or Van Halen, or like David Lee Roth. Wow, that's pretty cool. Then you go back home, and you're just back to reality again. But that always sends shivers. Megatron was one of those characters that, I was so fortunate to be given an opportunity to inhabit that character for a few minutes. People say, "Are you mad you didn't get a chance to do this and that?" I said, "Look, man, I got a chance to give life to this character for a minute, and that's pretty damn cool." So it's just the nature of the business. But I still get jazzed, of Megs. And of course, people say, "Would you, if you given the opportunity?" I said, "Yes, of course." Oh my God, are you kidding me? I'd hopefully do it better now that I know more and have been on the planet longer. The nuances and I could bring to the character, but that's, I guess, it's a long answer, but Megatron.
Right on.
Yeah,
and I grew up on Transformers. I actually still have the toys from back in the day.
Oh yeah, I get toys in there. I get toys in the garage. Like I said, some of them no one looks at, no one sees, no one's allowed to touch. Yeah, I got it. Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah, another show that you voiced was Stretch Armstrong and the Flex Fighters.
Yeah, that was one of those things where I had to come in and replace Miguel Ferrer, who passed away. There's a few things. Vandal Savage was one of the ones he did in Young Justice, and the Stretch Monster was. I think that they were finishing up, and I had to come in for a few episodes and just, I was able to. That's a daunting thing to come in when that happens. When it's just because I just lucky I could do the voice print, but you have to perform like he's a legend. He's Hollywood royalty. So it's like, oh man, really? It's an opportunity, of course, to expand your repertoire, but you got to come in and do this character and this person justice, and that's a tough one. It's and Stretch Monster was had certain phrases, and it was and that was fun to do. The cool thing about that is I got to hang out and work with Steve Yeun, from what's the new series he's in now on Netflix? It's very good. I watched it. Oh God. One word, I think it is. I can't remember, but of course he's, Walking Dead, Steve Yeun. And that was fun. And Will Wheaton, I think, was in that. But yeah, in the Young Justice, I can remember the Young Justice thing where they would play Miguel Ferrer's voice, 50,000 years of life. And I was able to, he was also a trailer guy, and just, he was amazing. I was able to get, had the voice print similar. But very daunting to come in and replace someone in that situation.
Yeah. And he was such a great actor too.
Oh my God. The best character act. Yeah. It's just so sad. I never got a chance to work with him directly. Indirectly I did, but not directly.
And yeah, there's a couple other great actors that were in the show. As you mentioned, Will Wheaton, and also Tara Strong.
Tara, yeah, I saw her in Dallas. She's a close friend of mine. One of the reasons I'm at my current agency and my forever agency. Yeah, she's a sweetheart. Yeah, there's a couple shows. Well, no, I can't. No, I can't say anything. You almost had me. No. But she's a sweetheart and so talented. My God.
Doing in this room? What am I doing here?
Yeah, and Lacey Chabert was on there too.
That's right. Yeah, I can't remember who was in that day. Sometimes it's not a full cast. Sometimes we're not all in. I'm in. Yeah. It's great to work with people. I miss that. That's the last 3 years has been drag doing. It's great to be able to do it from here, but also I really miss being in with the full cast. Crossing my fingers we can get back to that one day.
Yeah,
it'll be so easy now. So.
True. Yeah, and the writing strike needs to end.
Yeah, man. It'll be as much as I. Oh, it's that phone. It'll be a great day when it does. But I think we're in for a long one. I think we're not till the end of summer. I don't know. Let's see.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of quick questions, then we'll be done.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. And yeah, you're a busy guy at this year's Super Bowl, narrating a bunch of ads for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, what about that?
Gosh, that was weird. Because it's always great to get one spot. It's always like, hope I get a Super Bowl spot this year, because the audience, and it's just one of those things you put in your back pocket. And I ended up getting four spots ran during just before. It was a YouTube Sunday Ticket, NFL Sunday Ticket, and the trailers for the Miller. What was the beer? Gosh, it was a. Gosh, you're gonna be mad at me. It was based on the what was it? The Caddyshack movie.
Mm-hmm.
Was a tag there for did that, and there was an ABC promo for Dancing with the Stars, and then as soon as it ended, boom, right into the trailer for Strays, starring Will Ferrell. So that's pretty. I went, wow, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Bucket list.
And definitely. And yeah, Strays looks like a great movie from the trailer, and I can't wait to see it when it comes out.
Yeah, me too.
Strays in theaters this summer.
And yeah, I understand that you are a wine nerd. What is your favorite kind of wine, and what is a vineyard that you've always wanted to go to but haven't had the chance to visit yet?
Well, that's the vineyard is a DRC, Domaine Romani Conti in Burgundy. I can't, will never be able to afford a bottle of their wine unless someone gives me a taste or gives one to me. But that vineyard in Burgundy would be kind of like the holy grail. My favorite wine in the world is, I mean, I like all of it, but favorite regions is Loire Valley in France, Cab Franc for reds, and Chenin Blancs for whites. They're both from the Loire Valley in France. That's real nerd. That's a real nerd question there. Wow. Yeah, right. Yeah, that for I studied it, and I continue to study it, and it's for I don't know why. My mother wants to know, like, whose son am I? Where did you come from? It's just one of those things, right? It's geography, history, story. I'm reading a book about wine and war, about Second World War, and when the Germans came and they stole all the wine from the French, and it's an amazing story. It's unbelievable. But yeah, for whatever reason, I kind of gravitate. It interests me. I don't know. It's you drink a bottle and there's a story to it and who made it. And sometimes you have a bottle of something and those people are long past. It's just interesting to me. So not everyone's cup of tea, but yeah, it's a hobby aside from this, and I quite enjoy it. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank
All
you,
right.
David.
You're
for
very
joining
welcome.
me.
You're very welcome, sir. That was fun.
Yeah. And hope you have a great rest of your day, sir. And look forward to all the great stuff coming up from you in the future.
Me too. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Thank
All the
you,
best.
David.
Cheers. You got it. Bye.
Bye. For David Kaye, I'm Kevin Cusack. Thank you all for listening to Hitting the High Note.